There's no problems. There's no seeking, nothing missing.
Okay, it makes me think of this idea of priority and the importance of it. It's our job to relax. It's our job to love. End of story. Do your job. I have so much to respond to around this one. All right, hello and welcome. So honored to be joined today by Swami Asokananda. Before we dive in, a little bit about Swamiji. He's been a monk since 1975. He's one of Integral Yoga's foremost teachers. He's known for his warmth, intelligence, and good humor. His teachings come out of his own practice and experience while absorbing the wisdom of his guru, Sri Swami Satchidananda. While he enjoys sharing the practical wisdom of yogic philosophy, especially the great Indian scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, he also loves his practice of Hatha Yoga. He presently serves as president of the Integral Yoga Institute in New York City, and before this position, he served as the president of Satchidananda Ashram, Yogaville, and Integral Yoga International. So thank you so much for joining me today, Swamiji.
Thank you so much, Abhi, for inviting me. This is my second time doing a podcast with you, and you really are a master at leading this podcast.
Thank you. I want to start by asking you this question. Are you having fun?
That's an important question. I think my mind is still learning how to have fun. It's not established in fun. So it can take things very serious. And then it can switch, it can flip. And then I'm enjoying things again. I think the steadiness of my sadhana does help me to distinguish between the part of me that is enjoying whatever, come what may, hell or high water, you can enjoy your life, and the part that gets caught up in its reactive nature and the story it tells itself about what's going on and how difficult things are. I was watching a podcast of Eckhart Tolle recently, and he was talking about doers and beers. He says that the world recognized doers more. Beers aren't appreciated that much. And he was saying how important being is. And he was saying he's mostly more of a beer. He has like 300 emails he hasn't gotten to. He doesn't function that well in the world. But his doing is to talk about being. And he does that very well. And it made me think that what's fun for me is being. To be present, wherever the situation. And I'll be 70 my next birthday. I'm thinking maybe there can be a little less doing in my life. But that's not what's being presented to me. And I have to trust my guru that if I was really ready for being more, then that's what would be available to me. Right now, I'm being pressed into more and more doing, more of a leadership role. I prefer to be the person with the broom in the corner. You won't recognize me as an important person. But so, I have to follow Bhagavad Gita that you have to be and do. And yeah, you should have fun doing it. Don't take it that seriously. I do believe that this is, like Tibetans talk about, it's like a waking dream. We're projecting our own reality. So I think it does take some training to first have a better dream, and then to the spirit. That's the psychological work. The spiritual work is to wake up from the dream, and then I think things really get to be fun. But I think if we do our right psychological work, I think we can have at least more fun, even while we're in the midst of the dream. That's a bit of a long-winded answer to that question.
Yeah, but it feels like such an honest answer. I'm curious
Yeah,
if,
I could have just said, I could have just said, of course, Swami, of course, I'm having fun. What else will Swami do? The Ananda, I'm in this. But I think you invited me. I'm the first person went twice because I don't talk like that.
Do you think you might have answered more that way, in the past, and now kind of having the integrity to be fully honest has become more of a priority, or is that just the way that you've always been?
I've been this way for a while, but in my early years, I would never be that forthright. I would present the image that you're looking for. Excuse me. And the image that I'm looking for, probably the first 15 years, I took sannyas in 75. So I would say to 1990, I would have said, of course, I'm Asokananda. I'm the bliss of being free from worry and sorrow. How else should I be? And then I realized that it's actually more, I would say, even fun just to be who you are. It's not a stress to be something you're not, or trying to project an image that is not quite the reality for you. It's more relaxing to, this is who I am, and I'm okay with that.
It does feel so much more relaxing, I think, the state of being, which is associated with fun. Like, I love that you've associated fun with being, because that's my experience too. And I wonder, what's between me and being? What is stop? I mean, I think you spoke about this a little bit, but it seems like such a natural thing to be. Like, yeah, of course. That is what we're doing anyway. We're just being. But it's almost like we forget that we're allowed to simply exist and be.
Yeah. If you see little children, before they try to project any image, they do seem to be having fun, a lot of fun. Yeah. It was just before this podcast, I was responding to a lady in Italy who feels so much societal pressure to be something that she's not. And I like what she said. She said, I really, I don't think of myself as a religious person, but I feel as a spiritual person. And I really appreciate that integral yoga has allowed me to explore my own path, gave me the freedom, which I didn't get from other religious traditions. Yesterday, we had a Bhagavad Gita study group. And we were talking about how challenging it is to be find and to express your more of an authentic self. And one of the participants gave the example when she was in kindergarten and she was doing finger painting. And she really liked what she had done in finger painting. But the teacher said, no, that's not what we're doing. You're not doing it right. And if she's probably in her 60s now. She brought it up yesterday. It meant can you imagine the effect that had on her? You're not doing it right. That's not what we're doing. I read a quote recently. I forget who said it. Courage. What was it? Courage is not about something about not being afraid. Courage is Courage. Yeah. Oh, the opposite of courage is not fear, something like that. The opposite of courage is conformity.
Mm.
And there is a lot of pressure. If you want to be a part of the herd, even I think Liz Cheney is learning that now in the Republican Party. I don't know if you follow that at all. She was just voted out of her leadership position because she didn't conform with the other Republicans. There's so much pressure to conform if you want to have a place in society. And I do think that does dampen the pleasure and the fun of being a unique expression of the light. So yeah, I try to be like a good, in a way, traditional integral yogi, but as Asokananda expresses that, which may not conform to the norm, and I'd rather risk that than being inauthentic to myself.
So what I'm hearing you say a little bit is kind of you've set the intention to have like this meeting place between two worlds a little bit. Like, okay, I'm an integral yogi. I follow these teachings, this path. At the same time, I'm also an individual self, and I realized that allowing that individuality to express itself is key to my health. So
Yeah.
right?
I like the word health. Yeah, you're expressing it better than I did. You're more succinctly and clearly. Yeah, that's very true. I think related to what you're saying, I'm not sure if I'm taking a tangent, but I've been thinking about this lately, about control. I see my need to want things to go a certain way. And I see the importance of, sit back, see how things unfold. I think it was in one of your short sayings, I think I got it from that, it said, how do you know if something was supposed to happen? Because it happened, so is that from you or something like that? Something like that?
Yeah.
It may have been like a week or two ago.
No, yeah, I think it was. Yeah, it's not okay because it's okay. It's okay because it happened. Something like that.
I love it. I hope people are getting your short one-liners. They're really 1 or 2 liners. They're really special. But yeah, so I see I need to think less in terms of control, and I need to also express myself more. And it may seem like that's paradoxical, but I was in a situation recently. I'll give two examples where one, I didn't want to be at a meeting where someone's going to be at this meeting. I expressed that. And then I realized they may be there. Let's see how it goes. I wrote back to the chairperson, forget about what I said. Let's just see how it unfolds. And I was kind of proud of myself that I said, well, I'm not going to control it. And then I was at a meeting where the meeting was not going the way the agenda was planned. And I sat back and watched it. And I realized, no, that was a place where you were supposed to express yourself. Why didn't you express yourself? Because there was some anxiety about rocking the boat. So I let things unfold the way they unfolded. but I knew afterwards that I chickened out. So it's very interesting, this finding that balance of, you just watch, let God run the show, and you also watch within and see, am I playing the role I'm supposed to be playing at this moment? Or am I holding back out of being too timid for whatever reason? Did I change topics, or can we?
No, it's beautiful. It doesn't matter. What I want to ask about that though is like the power of radical acceptance. Like, is that the role that I'm supposed to be playing the most? Like, one that has faith. So taking your example, right? So even if I feel that in that moment of the meeting, you know, maybe it was the right thing to do to speak up, right? The ultimate right thing is to see that again, it happened, so it's perfect because it happened. And so what was really supposed to happen there was for you to not say anything, for you to realize afterwards that you, as you put it, chickened out, to learn a lesson that perhaps you can take with yourself to the future. And then the next time you would react in a way that maybe you feel better about. Like, you see what I'm saying?
I agree with that. That I didn't speak up. That must have been perfect. And next time I'm going to watch that, and I plan to express myself. So exactly how you put it, that was, and yeah, the radical acceptance means I accept that I wasn't supposed to speak up there because I didn't. And I accept, I'm not going to be down on myself. I accept myself because I chickened out. And I'm not complacent about that. I accept myself, and I'm going to make use of that. Judging myself harshly is not the way to improve.
Right, and maybe that connects back to how we started in terms of the fun. Like, maybe that's the obstacle of having fun when I judge myself so harshly, instead of just like being light about it and accepting, okay, like this happened in the past. Like, I like to ask, how quickly can I put the past away where it belongs in the past, right? And I don't think being hard on myself allows me to learn lessons more easily than if I'm light about it. I don't know about you. I maybe there's something there. Maybe kind of being more of a taskmaster to yourself. There is some productivity that comes from that. But I tend to find like a certain lightness in the joy of playing the game and learning lessons tends to lead to more results, I would say.
I'm with you on that, Avi. Yeah. I did enough taskmastering of myself. Maybe it had its place to my Tamasic side. I had to say, get up, man, you lazy fellow. Now that harshness doesn't work well for me anymore. Yeah.
Maybe this is a nice place to transition to another topic that I wanted to ask you about.
Let me mention one thing, though.
Yeah, sure.
Can I mention one thing about because today there's a woman in Europe that I mentor, and we had our mentor meeting today, and I'm really trying to find, how do you encourage someone to be more disciplined? And I really, it has to come from the person. I think Gurudev always said that, I don't want you guys meditating because of me. You have to feel the need yourself. And I don't want this lady going to bed earlier and getting up earlier and doing some practice because of my recommendation. So I see that with her mind also, and probably most people's mind, I have to find an in that makes, why would I want to go to bed earlier? Not because you're doing something wrong by staying up late, what would be the benefit of going to bed earlier, waking up earlier, doing some practice? There has to be some, I would say, fun for the mind, some pleasure for the mind. Otherwise, it's nice to stay up late, not worry about going to bed early and watching movies and things. That's why would I want to deny myself that fun? So I think discipline also has to be applied in a way that the mind sees the upside of it.
I have so much to respond to around this one. Well, first I'll say that I think I found that one of the most challenging aspects of being a human being is relationship with other people and really wanting to help them and serve them, but accepting that self-discovery is the way. And as you put it, people have to figure things out in their own time. And as clearly as I might see it, see what someone else, could be doing to add to the health of their lives, no matter how articulate I am, no matter how clearly I can define it, if they're not ready to see it, then it's not going to happen. And that's just the name of the game. And I felt a lot of frustration around this in my life. And ultimately, I've come to the conclusion that the best way to serve other people is by showing them an example and just constantly going into my internal work. And there's always more internal work to do. And that maybe they'll see something in me in their own time that says, oh, I can do that too. I want to do that also. It is possible. And it doesn't satisfy me completely. But I feel like that's the best I can do. So I'll say that. And then the other thing on top of it, just in terms of discipline, I like to look at,
before you go to the second
go
thing,
ahead.
can you keep that in mind? I think that's where the being comes in. I can't make you do something. This is how I'm living my life. I'm feeling the benefit of it. So rather than making the doing to make it's my doing to make you more disciplined. My being may spur that on. I'd rather help you in that way. I'm sorry for interrupting you. Yeah.
No, it's fine. And it makes me think of the power of vulnerability too. Like in conversation, I found that expressing what's happening inside of me and my story also has a power to it that might be effective, as opposed to telling someone else, oh, maybe you should do this, you should try that, this would be good for you. Instead of that, just sharing what's happening inside for me, I think that might be more effective.
I do too. I totally find that, and I'd rather teach that way. If I'm going to so-called teach or try to share my path with others, I'd much rather do it that way. This is what I do. This is what it works for me. This is what doesn't work. I prefer that.
What I was going to say.
Oh, do you remember this? Yeah. Okay. Remember.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I was going to say around discipline, that I think discipline has a bad rap in a way, because, discipline, I think the point of it really is to make us more free. Right?
Exactly.
So it's not this, it doesn't have to be like this hard, painful type of practice. It's a practice that I choose because I've had some insight that by taking on this practice, I'm going to feel better and therefore be more free and happy.
We have to make so many choices in our daily life. But it's better that something just become habits so you don't have to make choices. If everything is a decision you have to make, it's too much for the mind. It's better to have habits that are a certain rhythm and save decision making for the bigger stuff. But So I see people who say, oh, should I meditate this morning? Should I do my hatha? Do I feel like it? I would never ask myself that. Why do I want to give the mind that type of choice? Let's just do our practice. There's no resistance. I'm not asking for anyone's opinion inside myself.
I see it a little bit as a relationship between our past and present selves, right?
Let me hear about that.
When you speak about that, I consider that your past self is actually, it's helping your present self, because when you're talking about making it into a habit, and there isn't really a choice in the present self. So like at some point in the past, I would guess that you had an insight that meditating is so beneficial and you love it so much that this is going to become a daily practice. And that was so strong that now there's no choice because you just know that. So the mind has no control. So that's how I see it a little bit. Like sometimes I thank my past self for what it decided to do. At the same time, though, I feel that it's important to reassess at some point and just ask, am I still in alignment with my past self? Because sometimes promises that we've made like way in the past can, I think, hold us back in terms of the wisdom that can be gained by our future self through more experience. So I don't want to do that either.
That's a good point. Yeah, I mean, I have never really assessed whether my meditation or hatha practice should be reevaluated. And I may not do that in this lifetime. I may stick to that old past self affirmation. But I don't like to use someone else as an example, but what comes to mind is Sri Iyengar, the great Hatha Yoga master. When he reached a certain age, his guru, Krishnacharya, said, you should back away from Hatha and go deeper into meditation practice. And he said, no, I can't do that. I won't be able to do that. And that's the case where, the guru is encouraging that what you just said, that reevaluation of where your emphasis is. I would need someone like that. I would need someone like Gurudev coming up to me and saying, you're meditating too much, cut back on your hatha and be of more service, do more karma yoga. But I do think there are areas in our life that it's good. Maybe that's what New Year's is for, a reassessment of what you're doing and is this the right trajectory for me? I think I do that also. I do come up, each year I meditate on my yearly goals. I look at the past year's goals. I think about the coming year. And it is a time for me to try to do what you just said is, okay, this is how I've been moving forward. Is that still work for you? Is that still honest for you?
Yeah. I mean, again, I think we all get to decide. Like that's part of the play and the freedom in life that I think we forget sometimes. Like we don't need to be living anyone else's lives, just our own. So
yeah, I saw this cartoon. What you said made me think of it. Or it was who's the dad in The Simpsons? What's his name? Not Bart.
Homer.
That's not Bart. Homer. Yeah, Homer. Homer. I forgot what he's doing. Some bad habit. And his wife was Marge. Is his wife named Marge?
Yeah.
What's his wife? Marge. Marge says, Homer, this is going to be a problem. We please stop And Homer says, I'm enjoying myself. That's a problem for the future, Homer. I'll let him worry about that. And I think it's funny, right? But we say that to ourselves all the time, right? Okay, I'm going to eat this thing. That's a problem for the future, Ashokananda, or whatever it is,
Right. It just makes me think about balance, right? Because there's a part of that's beautiful too about living in the moment.
Yeah.
It's this balance of living in the moment and then also not hamstringing your future self, either.
Yeah, that's what you were trying to say about this interesting thing about discipline. It gives you a pathway, but it should be a pathway to freedom in some ways. I like how you put it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it makes me think of gratitude too. I could say that it's the most important practice in my life because it's flipped everything over, and it's just honestly made me a much less spoiled human being, thinking that I'm entitled to a certain amount of time and a certain amount of things and a certain level of experiences, like pleasurable experiences. So that helps with discipline a lot because every moment, yeah.
I want to hear the relationship of gratitude and discipline. That's very interesting to me.
Yeah, because it really it helps to accept and even find joy in maybe more less exciting experiences that I'm having, because when that part of me that obviously says, oh, I'd prefer to be doing something else, well, like I acknowledge right away that is, I would say, a more immature part of myself, a lower part of myself, and this is not how life works. You don't get to be doing the high level of things all the time.
Yeah. That's so wonderful. I'm going to keep that in mind. That by being grateful for what is, and keeping your eyes open to all the things to be grateful for, keeps you more in the present and recognizing that you're getting fulfilled in this moment. And I think that's an aspect of the highest discipline. It's to feel fulfilled in the moment. I think everything we're doing is maybe for that purpose. And I like the role that you expressed, the role that gratitude has in that.
Actually reminded me of something that you brought up earlier that I wanted to comment on. You mentioned this like paradox around control, I think. And I found this, I found this to be the experience too, that when I let go of control and kind of fall into the flow of life, like I'm just letting go into the flow of my life, somehow it feels like some control is actually gained there, which is such a weird thing. I don't know if you have this experience. It's like by letting go of control, more control is gained.
Yeah. It'd be hard for me to put that into words, how that works, but I think I have a sense of what you're saying is true. I certainly have more control over my own reactions by letting go. And by doing that, I'm more present in the situation, and I actually have more power in that situation. I don't know if power is the right word, but I'm more influential by letting go of control. Because I'm not a reactive person at that moment. Yeah.
Right. And I don't know if I'm as an ego-centered person either at that moment, so what's coming to me now is like by letting go and having this feeling of lightness, I have the ability to see more clearly. And just by seeing more clearly, control is gained. right? Like when I'm really stuck in my persona and my ego, I feel like I have blinders on. I want something to happen, and therefore I'm not seeing the totality of the game board.
Yeah, there's something about seeing giving us more control over what's in front of us, because we're not narrowing the scope of that experience. That's a deep understanding. Yeah.
Well, I also wanted to ask you about.
You're going to change the subject. I
Yeah.
don't know if you still
Yeah.
remember that yet. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about love and
Okay.
your anything to share around love and yoga and on the path. Like, what place does love have in your practice?
Yeah. I think love is my goal. It's a state of non-separation from everything. I think I can't force big love into the little self. I think the little self has to let go into the big love. I think I can help the little self to tap into the big love. It tends to be a little more conceptual when I do that rather than experiential. Like a Pratipachabhavana thing, or trying to push something to happen. I think it has to also do what we talked about earlier. If I'm not so judgmental to myself, not so harsh with myself, if I can have this radical acceptance that, okay, I should have spoken up there, I didn't. So that means I wasn't supposed to, and I'm okay with myself. And I think next time there's a good chance I'll speak up. That's a kind of love, which I couldn't give myself in the past. And if I could love myself that way, I think I can begin to look at you and settle into where you're at, step into your shoes more. I can't do that if I'm stuck in my own shoes. But if I can step into your shoes more, I'm not talking about a very high spiritual state, just a little bit more empathy. Then I think people will feel that as love. I'll feel it as something bigger than my normal connectivity with people. But in the end, I think my little eye can't love. The best it can do is to get out of the way. I don't know if that's controversial or not.
What would be controversial about that?
Why can't I love as an individual? Why can't Swami Satchidananda as with that persona? Why can't he also love? And I can, but it doesn't feel like the whole enchilada or the full thing. There's still some conditioning. There's still some conditions around it. I think that if you act in a certain way, I'm probably not going to be able to love you then. It's like, I can't go there. I'm not ready for that yet, You may have good intentions, but the way you're behaving, I'm sorry. I can't love you. And it's not just that I can't love your behavior. I can't love you. I wish it was just the behavior.
Mm. Mm. Thank you again for that honesty. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm not proud of that. But, and I think there aren't too many people that I would say, I can't love that person. But if there are even a few, that means it's not the whole thing.
Okay, it makes me think of this. Okay, this idea of priority and the importance of it within the mind, and maybe the being that I've been trying to gain clarity around. Right, so I notice that my mind ranks what is the most important thing to kind of remember, so to speak, or do or be, right? So if I elevate this idea that I do love everyone, there is something of value, and everyone is lovable, right? And they have this divine nature within them. If I believe that wholeheartedly, and again, rank it up high in terms of priority, that's really helpful when I have experiences similar to what you're describing. When someone has some behavior that's very off-putting to me or whatnot, it's like I check myself. Well, okay, do you really believe that? Like, were you just saying that? Or like, okay, here's a challenging experience and it's a test. Is that your top priority?
Yeah. I think I also work in a similar way as you often. Yeah, nothing more is coming to me about that. I think that you expressed it well. Until I, in my bigger self or outside of the small self, I don't have to wait till passively wait to try to love people. I can do a practice like you're describing, and I can try to make it more and more genuine. And I think it does help a lot. Even people who hurt me, Gurudev gives the example, it may come from Ramakrishna, you throw a rock at a tree, it'll give you more fruit. So if someone hurts me, can I still get beyond my hurt and still feel, like you say, the divine essence of that person? I think I can say that over the years, I've gotten much better of not holding on to hurts and at least accepting people as they are, and maybe even appreciating, and maybe it could even move towards something called loving the way they are. It's a big project for me.
Yeah. I'll share a little bit of a story
I like
from my life.
Yeah.
So I think it was pretty early on when I came to live at Yogaville, and I think we watched some documentary, might have been Black History Month, and I was contemplating Rosa Parks and what she did and the impact of her deciding, not to get up out of her seat. And a question came to me: what can be done today that would be the equivalent of that kind of action or similar to it? And I never really found an answer to that question, but my mind was reeling to come up with an idea. And I did come up with one idea did pop into my mind. And that was to go out on the street with a sign that says, "Be told that you're loved," and have anyone come and sit down in front of you and tell them, "I love you." I don't know why this idea came to me, but that it did. And I
what did the sign say? What did the sign say?
the sign said, "Be told that you're loved. Be told that you're loved here." Here, sorry.
Okay.
So
Be told,
you can come
be
here.
told you love you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You come here and you'll be told you're loved. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you
yeah,
tell
yeah.
them I love you. Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay,
and so
yeah, that's a Rosa Park action. Yeah. Okay.
and so I've done it a little bit. I want to start doing it again because it was maybe the best way I've ever spent time, or one of the best ways. But to do it, I really had to kind of go deep and ask, can I do this genuinely? Like, because I'm not going to tell anyone I love them if I don't mean it. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Right. So it kind of challenged me in a great way to see, like, do I really believe that? Do I really believe that any person can come and sit down in front of me and I can look them in the eye and say, I love you, and mean it?
Wow. You actually practiced that. Wow. So say a little bit about that experience.
Oh my
What
gosh.
was it like?
It was even that much more
Like,
powerful than the
did
conception of the idea.
people really come? Did people really come and what, did you have a chair there or something, or did you sit down or just standing?
No, I would do it with chairs, and I did it here at Yogaville, actually, in the hall, and I did it at some yoga festivals, and some people, a lot of people would walk by, but some people would sit down, and I would do it, and I would make eye contact with them for a certain period of time, and then when I felt ready, I would say the words, and it, like, literally felt like the best way I could possibly be spending my time was doing that.
Wow. I admire that. But you haven't just gone out in the street and did that. It's been like at Yogaville or yoga festivals. Do you ever like go to Charlottesville Mall and do that?
That's my vision, and that's my plan. COVID has kind of put a backseat on that.
Right.
But I have the sign and everything, and I think there's a good chance I'll be doing it in the future.
Okay. Wow. Well, I'm going to sit down in that chair when you do that and absorb your love.
I would love that.
So do you feel that where is that love coming from? When you say I love you, where is it coming from?
I think it comes from source, and if I'm putting words to it, it comes from this belief and knowing that I really wish everyone well, and I do love everyone, and that's not me. That's not Avi loving everyone. It's just basically love loving itself. So it's a part of source, just reflecting back and saying, hey, like, I see you. And I've heard you speak recently about, seeing the divine nature in everyone, as a practice too. And I think it's pretty much the same thing.
Yeah. Do you ever have a doubt? Is this coming from my ego? Or do you feel I'm tapped into something that I can say this from my heart? Has doubt ever arisen when you did this practice?
I'm sure it's there. And actually, I might not be answering the question directly here because I have another question that this relates to that I've been thinking to ask you is this movement from the little I to the big I that you've been talking about, right? And I'm curious, is your experience that this is happening like very fluidly and like many, many times throughout the day, that you're moving back and forth between the little I and the big I?
I'm mostly pretty stable in the little I. Not so much movement, but keeping the mantra going is my way to keep a little toehold on the big I. And I connect that to my connection to Gurudev, Swami Satchidananda. And then I don't make it a problem that I'm mostly experiencing myself as the little I. That's a problem for the big I to worry about, how to transmute this little I to the big I. That's not for the little I. That's almost like the little I's problem. So I try not to, I know that ultimately the big I, it's already there. And I have my connection through the mantra and the guru. Guru used to tell the story about this great sadhu did all these austere practices, and he wasn't the most beloved of God. So he said, who's more beloved than me? And there was a man who worked very hard in the fields all day, and he came home and did some works at home for the family. And then before he went to bed, one time he said wholeheartedly, Om Namah Shivaya. And God said, that's the one. He's my favorite.
Mm.
He focuses that one moment on the big I with all his heart. Otherwise, he's who he is. So I think I tend to be, I'm in between those two fellows. I'm regular in my practices. I'm keeping the mantra going as much as possible as I'm moving around my night day. But I know it's just, at one point I'll feel it, and then I'm in communion with the big I. And then there's no problems. There's no seeking, nothing missing.
Mm.
But even as a little I, I'm trying to feel there's nothing missing.
Mm.
That's a little tricky practice, because the little I is based on not being full, and something is not right. I got to make it right. So I'm trying to shift this consciousness that I'm working with into feeling that it's all right, you're full, there's nothing missing. And I think it's helping to make the shift that you just talked about. Even as I'm still resting more in the little I, there's a certain okayness that I think is based on tapping into the big I. I think that when we're free from anxiety and running, the big I is going to naturally express itself. What do you think about that?
That's my experience too, 100%. In a way, I see it as maybe the big I is supporting the little I. You know, it's saying, okay, I see you too, I love you too.
Yeah.
Everything. It's how it is. Again, radical acceptance type of thing. And I find that when I do that, when I allow when I'm stuck in the persona or the ego to be okay, that, okay, everything in nature, I accept it all, and this is a part of nature, then it kind of loosens its grip, so to speak. Yeah.
For me, it's some kind of combination of letting go of stress and anxiety, and what's already there can more manifest, and some aspiration to stay connected to that. Some combination, a healthy combination of, okay, I'm doing this podcast. It's not going to flow if I'm anxious. Just relax and like you say, have fun. But also, be aware that you want to be connected to something. which I think will come fairly naturally if you can just stay relaxed.
Mm. Yeah, relaxation, talking about priorities has been, it goes up and up and up. And I just see that relaxation is totally, key.
I think I showed you, I posted on my wall something you said. I love it. I read it a few times a day.
Can you back it up a little bit? It's our job to relax. It's our job to love. End of story. Do your job.
That's from Avi, and it's so potent. It simplifies the path so well. So yeah, relaxation, because I think it's hard to be tense and low. So relaxation has to be high, very high on the list. Love, I think, will more naturally flow.
Yeah, I feel like
But thank you for that, Avi. That's something that really has worked for me. That simplicity and the power of, I like end of story, do your job. I don't know where you came up with that, but
me either.
It's so definitive, yeah.
Swami Asokananda, thank you so much. I don't know. There's really nothing I could say more than just thank you, and I love you.
I love you, Avi. Let's sit together sometime and look each other in the eye and share that love. Thank you so much, Avi.
Yeah. Om Shanti.
Okay. Om Shanti. Om Shanti.
Thanks for listening. If you've enjoyed this content and think others might as well, please feel free to share and subscribe.